In everyday life, certain habits repeat so often. They fade into the background unnoticed. They show up in conversations, reactions, and small decisions people make without thinking. Psychology suggests these patterns reveal how someone processes information and handles reality. This is not about education, profession, or how intelligent someone appears on the surface. It is about mental habits that shape learning, judgment, and emotional response over time. Some behaviors quietly limit growth because they resist reflection and adaptability. When these habits become consistent, they affect relationships, decisions, and self-awareness. This video is not here to label or judge anyone as smart or unintelligent. It is here to observe patterns that influence how minds stay open or become rigid. If any of these habits feel familiar, recognition matters more than criticism ever could. 1. Excessive confidence without real understanding. Some people speak with strong certainty even when their understanding is shallow or incomplete. They sound confident but struggle to explain ideas clearly when asked simple follow-up questions. Instead of clarifying, they repeat statements or avoid answering directly. Questioning feels threatening because it exposes limits they are not ready to face. Doubt is seen as weakness rather than a normal part of thinking and learning. More flexible minds feel comfortable saying they are unsure and open to correction. Exaggerated confidence blocks growth by removing curiosity and honest self-reflection. 2. Resistance to learning anything new. Some people instinctively reject information that challenges what they already believe. New ideas create discomfort, so they are dismissed instead of explored calmly. Familiar opinions feel safer, even when evidence shows they no longer work. Learning requires admitting gaps, and that admission feels threatening to the ego. Over time, this resistance creates mental stagnation and repeated mistakes. Growth slows not because intelligence is absent, but because openness feels unsafe. Difficulty understanding complexity. Some people struggle to process situations that require nuance, context, or layered thinking. They reduce issues into extremes, seeing things as entirely right or entirely wrong. Middle ground feels confusing, so it is often ignored or dismissed quickly. This oversimplification leads to shallow conclusions and poor judgment. Complex problems are treated as simple because depth feels mentally demanding. When complexity is avoided, understanding becomes rigid and easily distorted. 4. Constant emotional reactivity. Some people react immediately, without pausing to think or regulate emotion. First, small disagreements feel like personal attacks rather than differences in perspective. Impulsive reactions replace reflection, turning minor situations into unnecessary conflict. This pattern damages communication because emotion leads instead of understanding. A lack of pause prevents learning from moments that require calm, consideration. Emotional control supports clearer thinking, while constant reactivity limits it. 5. Playing the victim and blaming others. When something goes wrong, responsibility is quickly placed outside the self. Mistakes are explained through excuses rather than examined for lessons. This pattern protects the ego but blocks learning and personal growth. Without self-reflection, the same problems repeat again and again. Growth requires ownership, and ownership begins with honest acknowledgement. Blame keeps awareness external instead of directed inward. 6. Intolerance of opposing opinions. Some people experience disagreement as a personal attack rather than an exchange of ideas. Listening becomes difficult because the goal shifts from understanding to defending position. Different perspectives are dismissed quickly instead of considered calmly. Debate requires effort, patience, and reasoning, which feel uncomfortable. Here, when dialogue is avoided, thinking stays narrow and fragile. Tolerance for difference supports growth, while defensiveness quietly limits it. 7. Refusing to admit mistakes even when evidence is clear. Some people cling tightly to their version of events. Admitting error feels like losing status, rather than gaining insight. The ego is protected at the cost of learning and adjustment. This refusal blocks feedback that could improve decisions and relationships. Acknowledging mistakes requires maturity and awareness, not weakness. Without this step, growth stalls and patterns remain unchanged. Intelligence is not defined by education, titles, or how someone appears outwardly. It shows in how a person reflects, adapts, and learns from everyday experiences. These habits are not permanent labels. They are patterns that can change. Awareness creates flexibility, and flexibility opens the door to growth. The mind strengthens when curiosity replaces defensiveness and reflection reaction.